What is up? It's Book Reviews here to do another one. This is where we discuss books on a podcast where we discuss all things books.
Let's go.
I'm Winston Niles Rupford. With me is Malachi Constant, and today, let's see where we at. July. We're at the beginning of July, so we're going to discuss the first half of the year and put everything on a tier list. So we've already started these lists. We have some episodes we've done where we discuss these earlier in the year, where we're just ranking all the books that we have read, both fiction and nonfiction. And for this one, we've split up those two categories into two separate tier lists because it got a
Yeah.
little. It's so hard to rank them on the same list when you're talking about Henry V compared to the Sirens of Titan. You
Yeah,
know?
it's that we should have. Well, I guess early on it feels like what's the point? And we had read so many books like so early, but it was like a good 50-50. But
Yeah,
yeah, now that we have enough, it feels right. I'm curious to see like if we look at these if we want to arrange anything.
dude,
So
I
I have
just
it
realized what you
aligned.
did on the bottom tier.
It's not even going to be a spoiler, man. Anyone who's been around here, there's going to be a
Yeah, man,
separate
if you've been keeping
category.
up, you already know.
Yeah. Um, but no, I'm curious to see if we want to move anything around now that we like see it solely for just fiction or solely for just nonfic, or if anything is kind of like either grown on us or faded on us. But anyway,
Yeah, we'll get into it. So we'll do the new ones first, and then we'll wrap up with seeing if we want to move anything around with both nonfiction and fiction. And we're going to start with the fiction here. So take us away, brother. What are we starting on? What is that? Oh, it's Augustus
so
by
it's
John Williams.
Augustus. Yep. So this one's one you read.
Yeah, so automatic S tier. It's
Oh,
got to be.
okay.
John Williams is supreme. His writing is so good. So, yeah, that's an easy one for me. It's obviously a historical fiction. We recently discussed this in a historical fiction episode, but it's fiction about the life of Augustus, the Emperor of Rome, and it's so good, so engaging. So, yeah, that's one of the best books I've read this year for sure.
I've been meaning to ask you. Do you think that that book or even Stoner by him would those be good audibles? Like in general, if
Um,
someone's like, I want to read more, not that it's classical fiction, but I guess it's more. This is what in the
maybe.
70s.
I don't know if I would enjoy it, but I don't Audible a ton, so I don't know. I
Yeah, I'm
probably
just
wouldn't
curious.
recommend it. I think I don't know. I think the writing just translates. I mean, it seems obvious, but it just translates so well when you're actually reading it on the page. And I've never audioed those books, so I couldn't really speak to it, but I would recommend
Yeah.
reading it. But
Okay.
do what you will.
I'm just curious. I don't really have much to say about this next one. Just gonna get placed here at the bottom. The Devil's Joe Abercrombie. This book has just gotten worse, dude. And now, I mean, like we were filmed not even that long ago. I guess on maybe like the second, not even a week ago. And it's like, dude, every time I think about this book, it's just worse and worse. But then I'll
Mm,
like go back, dude, and look at people's comments like on certain things about how good or I guess maybe it was Jake. So our buddy Jake just finished The Last Argument of Kings and was, I read his review on Goodreads, and it just makes me remember like, oh yeah, Joe Abercrombie is like an amazing author, which then
yeah,
makes this even worse. Like it just then reminds me like, oh wait, he somehow wrote The Devils as well. So
yeah,
again, I think we've talked about it a little bit. It does feel like, or maybe I chatted with some people in the comments on that video, but it does feel like a marketing blunder where they marketed it as his like normal like genre when I think it was just he's trying to do something different. And so
yeah.
that's where it missed. But anyway, The Devils it is by far the worst book I've read this year. So
Mm. So
I
it's in a
would not
category of
recommend
its
it.
own, just
It
titled
is.
Joe A's The Devils.
And we'll see as we go on through this year. I'm curious to see if anyone makes it down there, with them, if there's any company. But
We shall see. I don't think any of these will.
no, I don't
So that
either.
leads us to the next one, the second book in The Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan, The Great Hunt. Uh, I mean, this is an easy A tier for me. What do you
Okay.
think? Would it be
Yes, I
S for
agree.
you?
I
Okay.
mean, so we have. I don't think it's S, dude. I was thinking about this the other day. Well, I'm gonna wait until we we have another Wheel of Time book on here. It's definitely better than Eye of the World for me. And then
Yeah,
it's tough comparing it to. I mean, you've recently read Glorious Exploits. So this is here based off of what I read, like for how when I rated it,
yeah,
because at this point you had not read it yet. So I'm curious to see like what you think maybe at the end. I would say it's better, but it's only because it's so different. Like it's Glorious Exploits
yeah,
I really enjoy, but it's a totally different. Like its goal is way different than the Great Hunt. The Great Hunt's goal is so like vast. I feel like it's more challenging, so therefore it's because it does hit. It's like more rewarding in a way because it's not as big of
yeah.
a or this is Glorious Exploits is not as big of a scope. So I would at
Yeah, I
least
would
have it
definitely
here.
say The Great Hunt is better.
This now would be for you because for me, I would definitely have it
I'd put it
here.
above Sirens of Titan. I'd probably put it above.
The blade itself. This is
Dude, I
where it
might.
gets
I don't
dicey. I
know, man. It
might
might be better than
honestly.
both of those. I don't know. What I was
All
gonna
right,
say, I know we said we
I
do it at
like
the
that.
end, but since you brought it up, dude, after reading Glorious Exploits, I really liked it. But dude, I cannot call it better than Eye of the World.
I like that. Okay, yeah,
After reading, like I think it's a really good book, but I also think that about the Eye of the World. I definitely
it's
think it's
better
better
than
than
Horus
Horus
Rising.
Rising.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. All right,
Um.
I'm fine with this.
So yeah, we'll have to reevaluate once we get to the end. But yeah, the Great Hunt is definitely an A tier for me. That was so
I'm
good.
actually okay with this. It's so these are just so different. It's
Yeah, it
such a
is.
different
It's
like reading
tough.
experience
Yeah.
too. It's
Yeah,
crazy
it's
that they're
tough.
both fantasy because
It's very different.
it's good, but they're both good, but they're good in like the opposite ways.
Yeah, they're totally different. And for me, it's just the writing really that gets Robert Jordan over. And that's not a knock on
Yeah,
Joe Abercrombie. Robert Jordan purposefully wrote like a more elegant style
yeah.
story. But anyway, next one's you, brother.
All right, this one is all me. Cloud Cuckoo Land. This book was better than Wild Dark Shore. This
Okay.
was a solid book. It's better than Glorious Exploits.
Hmm.
I don't, dude. Enjoyment level, it's not better than Glorious Exploits. I think literary wise, I think it would probably be considered a better book if that makes sense. I enjoyed Glorious Exploits more. It's way shorter. It's way more. It's way less of an investment, especially like mentally. This is one POV, Glorious Exploits, whereas Cloud Cuckoo Land is five, which I don't mind, but it's just different. But dude, the pros in this book are really good, Cloud Cuckoo Land. But
Yeah.
because it is a little longer, I don't know. I like Glorious Exploits more, I think. So yeah, I'm fine with it here. But dude,
If you had
this
to
is
just take
still
a
really
wild
cool.
guess, knowing what you know about Horus Rising, do you think it's probably better? Just take a
Dude, I
wild
don't
guess and put it. Just
know.
follow your gut without reading it.
It's just
There's
tough,
got to
dude,
be
because
some
I remember you.
ILBR character to this list, you know?
Yeah, this book feels like it's like a fun weekend book. That this,
Kind
from
of.
what I know, like I'm
I mean,
curious.
there are
One day
nerds
I
out
will
there
read
that
it
would pull their axes out and
and
declare
kill me.
war for you saying that, but I get what you're saying. Yeah.
What's the? I don't want to derail us here. I can't
No,
remember.
we.
Is this like a widely popular book? Like I know there's the
I
niche
think
community,
it's.
but like, is it 100,000? Like, what's the? How many people have read this book? You think?
I'll tell you right now.
So
I'll
the only
tell
reason I
you
say this
right
is Cloud
now.
Cuckoo Land. I mean, it's not that this is the gauge because if we go down the rabbit hole of like who has more than, I mean, obviously the fifth season somehow an S tier
35K.
book. See, that's still a lot more than I thought, honestly.
Yeah.
I would say I don't know how the pros were in this. The pros in this one were amazing. Like I don't. It
Yeah, the prose
reminds
is
me of.
not like what's going on in Horus Rising, so just throw it up
I'm gonna
there.
do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's just tough. I don't know. I feel like I would really like Horse Rising
You
though,
would for sure like it,
because
but it's
it's one of those
definitely
books that
if you're gonna
feels like
talk
this
about
has no
prose,
expectations, and so it's like it's kind of
yeah,
only up.
yeah. And if you're talking about the prose being great in Anthony Doerr's book, uh, I would say it goes. It's above Horus
Also,
Rising. So
you just made a decision there, and I.
I had to,
Yeah,
brother.
that is the only reason why honestly I want to put Horse Rising above it because the title of this book is atrocious, but
Yeah, it's crazy.
it's rather here or there.
On to book 3 in the Wheel of Time, The Dragon Reborn, Robert Jordan.
I mean, it's at least here, I
It's
would say.
yeah, I would say there.
See, this is this is
this
where I
series has
was.
not pierced S tier yet for me.
And dude, this is where I was gonna say, and I've only read the first 6, but I'd be curious to hear what Tom would say. We'll have to ask him. I don't know if the Wheel of Time has an S tier book. Like, I wonder
I
if
feel like the way Tom has
you know
talked
what I
about
mean.
the ending, I think the ending is for me. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah,
think I'm gonna love. I don't know. I just think I
yeah,
will for everything I've heard about it from hearing Tom talk about it. I think that's where it might get S tier for me, and I don't say that because Sanderson helped write, but it would make sense that I enjoyed those
yeah.
even more. But
It's
I
it's
don't know.
almost like though if it's so consistently good, then it pushes the series as a whole to S tier, even though like
Yeah, I think that's
you know what I
possible.
mean. Like
Yeah,
I
if you
don't.
got
I was
solid A tier books throughout, which obviously has started with a B for us, but who knows? Yeah, I could still see myself considering it an S tier series because it's so long and if it's consistently great. But thinking about it compared to Lightbringer, dude, is not
yeah,
doable for me. Like,
so
there's no
different, dude.
comparison.
And
And
that's where,
even
as I'm thinking about it, I just don't think there's ever going to be. Not that there's not ever. It's just I've read the first 6, dude, and honestly, I don't know if any of the. I don't know if 4 or 5 or 6. I don't know if any of them are better than the Great Hunter, the Dragon Reborn. Like
we'll
from what
find
I
out. We'll probably
remember,
have at least those three when we do our end of the year tier list. So
I
we'll see
think so
where
too.
it all ends up
I'm
standing.
curious.
But okay, that brings us on to Sanderson himself, who I just mentioned. This is one of the secret projects, the last one that I had to get to. Besides that England one, I'm not reading that. Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. This was a really good book. I would say it's a solid B tier. I'd probably put it.
Is it better than
Um,
Glorious Exploits?
no, I don't think so, man. I really enjoyed it, but it's hard to compare them. I'd say it's right there with it. I'd be fine with it before or after Glorious Exploits, honestly.
It's your call because I've not read this one, so
I'm gonna
I
go
don't know if I
after
ever will.
Glorious Exploits.
Wow. Okay. I feel like
It's a
that was a
solid
biggie.
book. It's not, his best work by any means. But it's solid. I enjoyed it and I read it in like 2 days, so it
Dude,
means
I'm
nothing at
scared,
the
man. I
end
know I've
of the
said this
day.
before, dude. I'm scared that I've read the best Sanderson.
Dude,
Like
let's
I'm
not even get into that
all
right
right,
now
sorry.
because I agree with you and I don't wanna mess around with that conversation right now. So last up on the fiction for so far in 2025 is The Will of the Many. I mean, you tell me. I feel like I've been
All
blurting
right.
things out first.
So mm,
It's tough, man.
dude, it's tough because I was reading comments about this and it's like I don't want to be so easily swayed, dude. Cuz I feel like I'm such a victim of the moment. And so when I finished, like I read this book so fast. Like for me,
Yeah,
I remember
I
reading
know
like
what
the
you mean, though.
last like 3 or 400 pages in like 2 days. And especially like the last 200 pages I read almost in a single sitting cuz I had nothing to do at work.
Yeah,
Um and so
I know where
that
I
like
would stick
adds
it,
to the
but
experience.
yeah.
I think objectively I would have to maybe put it here.
Okay.
If
So and that makes sense for you because you're such an Abercrombie lover. I was gonna say in between Reborn and The Great Hunt for me, but I'd be fine with where you had it. I think it's an A tier book, but I think it gets tough
yeah.
because all of these books are very different.
The
So it does
pacing in
get
this
kind of
book was
tough.
just elite. But I'm trying to think
It
of like,
was.
all right, what else? So the pacing in this book's elite. So the pacing is better than honestly any of these books here, and maybe this book here.
Yeah.
Um, it's not better than Lightbringer pacing. Characters though,
Yeah, that's its weak spot for sure.
and then the plot, the world was cool.
Yeah. And
Um,
the plot, I thought the plot was good. I thought it was,
maybe it is because what happened before they're hanged? I'm trying to just imagine what
yeah, it's tough, and it's
you
all,
know what
dude.
I mean. How
Hindsight
does
is
it
tough, so I
end?
feel like in another 6 months, like, because dude, some of the things I'm looking out on here have adjusted slightly, and we'll talk about it in a second. But I think wherever we put it in A tier is fine, and we'll see how it ages.
Does it? I'm trying to remember just how, dude. You know how like when you're looking at the trilogy, I remember how this book
Oh,
ends,
dude.
but how did
Yeah, I
this
mean,
book ended? Kind of crazy. Oh, didn't it?
I
Why
can't
am I
even remember to
blanking?
be honest.
Was it? We obviously can't say anything because we don't want to spoil anything. Anyway,
Yeah.
the ending of this book is insane. So
Yeah.
that is, I want to say, I can't tell if it's just because it's so recent, but I do remember the ending of this one. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah. And
say
there is
that
some
we meet in the
recency
middle
bias
of
always, but
here.
yeah, I think that's a fine spot for it. So looking at this now, first of all, as a man thinketh, I don't even know if that's fiction. Let's just remove that off the list. Let's just
I
delete
don't
that
even,
completely. Because that's like a really short, like
I don't even know how to
really
do that,
old,
but
like I mean, I think it's like self-help or like mental, I don't know. So it was fine or whatever, but I've talked about it before. It just felt elementary. And I don't think it's fiction. Like he's not telling a story.
oh,
So you can just delete that if you want.
okay, I'll do that. Another. I don't know how to do it off this without absolutely
Well, just can you just put it at the
botching.
bottom?
Yeah,
Like, I mean, underneath everything.
I
Or
don't
does it
think
not
so.
let you do
No,
that?
no.
Oh,
Once it's out, I think it's out.
dude, it's done.
That's what I'm
All right.
saying.
I mean, is there anything on here you think should be different? I think I'm fine with where it's at, actually.
I think I am too. Dude, I kind of feel gay for having this so high, but it was pretty good.
Jeez.
Sorry.
Goody.
I was just kidding, guys.
All right. Well, yeah, I
I
think
don't
the
know. Yeah,
fiction
I think
tier
I'm
list
good.
is where it's at. So, I mean, based on this list, the best fiction we've read this year, and this is obvious, is Lightbringer. And it's funny
It's
because we
the
read
best
that. It was
fiction
like
I've
the
ever
first or
read,
that was the
maybe.
second book I read this year, and
Yeah.
nothing has topped it. And there's some solid ones in this list. We got The Wheel of Time started, and it's hanging around mostly in A, a little bit in B. It's kind of diverse. Got a little Sanderson in there. Hyperion, dude. I still don't know about it being C tier, man. I think those later chapters bring it up to low B.
Bro, I
Looking at
cannot.
this,
There's so many things I cannot forgive about that series, dude. It being
I
six
mean that's fair,
chapters
but
is
especially with what you just said
insane,
about
dude.
the last book in B tier, I just feels tough to have
Yeah.
Hyperion underneath
See,
it.
that is, I think, what sparked my. But it's. But the thing that sucks, dude, is I enjoyed Wild Dark Shore way more than I enjoyed Hyperion. And dude,
That's
honestly,
fine. We'll
that
leave it
makes
where
me
it's
mad.
at.
But no, like I wish I didn't
I mean,
though.
yeah,
You know what I
that's
mean?
on
That's why I
you.
was
You need
like.
to.
But also, it's on Dan Simmons because
I mean, I don't know, man. Is
it
it?
is. It is,
Yeah.
dude. Because the pacing in that
Let's
book
let
was
the people decide.
terrible. It
Hyperion
was
or Wild Dark Shore. Let's
dude.
just
The
leave it there.
unfortunate thing is I may be the only person in the world who's read both of those books. Like, like
Yeah, you
those are
might be.
like
That Venn
two.
diagram is
Yeah,
insane. Just you just by yourself in the middle.
dude. I can tell you right now, if I tried to, I could give Riley $3 million and she'd never finish Hyperion. So solely because of those chapters, like the chapter
And
length
I wouldn't
is
blame her for that. I mean, that's a
insane.
lot of money, but I wouldn't blame her.
Yeah,
Either way, is what it is. Let us know what you think of Hyperion if it's in a bad spot, because I feel like that is one of the more controversial ones on this list.
we may need to read the
So
second one to figure that out, though. Which I am. I still
yeah,
want to
we
read
do.
the second
We
one.
need to
I
read
do
the
want to
second one.
clarify.
Maybe we'll have that on here by the end of the year as well. But yeah,
Yeah,
topping off the fiction tier list with Lightbringer, bottoming out with Joe Abercrombie's The Devils. I mean, if you
dude,
had
I would have
guessed
never
at the
guessed that.
middle of this year, if that would, I wouldn't have been surprised by where Pierce Brown is, but I can't believe one that The Devils is at the bottom of our list, and two that I didn't even read it because of how badly you talked about it. Because I
I
trust
can't.
you enough. We disagree sometimes, but I don't think we vary enough for us to have disagreed much on this. I've said it before. I probably would have disliked it even more than you.
Well,
So,
especially because I reread this series, like the First Law series, and like that
oh
made
yeah,
me
made
like
it even worse.
further like because I did that before. Excuse me, the Devils came out, and dude, it made me love Joe even more. Like, cause I don't even think First Law was in my top 10. I think it had slowly like slid out. And dude, after we reread that, I was like, man, like it was just a comfort series. So it literally made it so much worse. This book was terrible.
Yeah,
Yes, I would have never guessed. Never.
but
God.
that's where we sit. So halfway through 2025, these are our rankings for the books we've read so far as fiction is concerned. Let us know what some of your best and worst are of the year in the cloud, and we'll move on to nonfiction now.
We shall.
So let's see where we're at, dude. I haven't even looked at this until just now. And man, we've had some. I mean, this is a legendary list right here. So leading up to this point, this is about what 3 months through the years through Q1, I believe.
Yeah. Which, oh, wait, to wrap up, what is this? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 20. So 21 fiction. 3, 5, 7. Why'd I do it like that? 10, 13, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Dude, that's a
Mm,
pretty even spread. I mean, I know this is split between us, so some of these we haven't both read, but anyway.
yeah. Yeah, so here we are. This is the nonfiction list, topping out with Henry V at the top of S tier. He's up there with A World Undone and Ring of Steel, both books on World War One. And then the very bottom we have In the Wake of the Plague. I mean, good God, that was terrible. So let's see where we're at with the ones we have to add. What's up first?
We
Oh,
have
dude,
one of yours.
S, bro. The History of the Ancient World by Susan Wise Bauer. Oh, dude. Yeah, this list is about to
It's
get
more just if it's
absolutely
better for you,
wrecked.
because if it is, to clarify, I
Okay,
didn't read The World
I'd put
Undone.
it
I read
I'd put it
Ring of
right
Steel.
behind Henry V. I'd say it's
Okay.
number 2 in S tier. I mean, this book it covers a very general, broad perspective of ancient history. I mean, the subtitle is From the Earliest Accounts to the Fall of the Roman Republic, or the Fall of Rome. Um, yeah, the Fall of Rome. And it's just amazing, dude. I mean, for the amount of information she is able to cover in such a succinct way, and make it like very easy to follow. She just goes chronologically, but she's jumping from, continent to wherever, depending on who she's talking about. And it's just great, man. I mean, it
How
was
big is
so
that?
good.
Yeah, I feel
It
like
was
it's
like
big.
eight. It's like eight, 900 pages.
Never mind.
She was a
I mean,
thick
like, is
girl.
this like a
Yeah, I mean, you gotta want it
readable
for
book?
sure.
Yeah.
It's a big book. It's the first in a series. The next ones are the history of the medieval world and then the history of the Renaissance. So I'll be looking forward to reading those. She's great. So yeah, that's an S tier book.
Susan.
Oops. Next up, The Demon of Unrest by Eric Larson. You read it more recently than I did. Where does it go?
I don't know, dude. It's either you give some input here. For me, I have it flirting with. To me, it would be the top of it. I liked it more than Paris 1919 or Here for
Yeah,
me.
I would say top A. That's exactly where I would put it. Top A.
Yeah, that book
Um,
was so good, man. I read
it
that
was
one
great.
quick too. For me, at least, nonfiction wise,
Yeah, it's one of his best, and I don't know,
it's kind of
I could
thick.
see it in S tier, for sure. But for me, it has not stuck with me as much as the top 3 books that I've read, in S tier. I haven't read that last one we have, you did, but as good as it has not stuck with me as much as those, so I think top of A is good.
Yeah, I hadn't physically read one of his books in a long time, so but also being in Charleston reading this,
Yeah, I mean,
it
that's
kind of hit
cool.
different. So, but no, I really like that. I'm glad I got to sneak that one in this year to
Yeah,
kind of
me too. It's a good one.
have something there. All right, this next one's you.
Oh, yeah, The Jazz Age President Defending Warren G. Harding by Ryan Walters. This book was alright. I would say to put it in C right above The Shadows of Socrates, because this book was a little on the nose. The author's a little too obvious about what he's trying to convince you of and why, and he's trying to make these connections to, the political scene today, and I don't like that. I don't think you should be trying to directly connect me to some relevant point, of today. I think
Yeah,
you should just say what you need to say, and if that point is there, the reader is going to find that. If I came here to read a biography about Warren G. Harding, I've probably got the capacity to figure out, oh, this is similar to like something that's going on today. What are the implications? Like, I don't need you to spell that out for me and try to convince
yeah,
me with specific words that say, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. So it was good, man. I don't know enough about Harding to know if because obviously by the subtitle of this book, he's trying to reverse opinion on Warren G. Harding. For the longest time, Harding has been considered one of the worst American presidents in history. And knowing what I do know about him from this book and even stuff that I researched after the fact, it is kind of strange that he's remembered that badly, especially in comparison to people like Wilson, and Johnson and people like that who were like absolutely awful. And he definitely seemed like a better person than a lot of the people that are the worst presidents.
Yeah.
But
Jimmy
it's hard
Carter
for
was
me to
pretty
say
bad
without
too.
knowing too much about him. Um, so yeah, it was fine. I wouldn't really recommend it to anybody. I'm gonna go ahead and say, dude, the Swerve should be in C tier. It can be right above the Jazz Age President, but let's go ahead and amend that. That's bothering me.
Okay.
Um, On to the next one. What do we have?
We have
Oh, dude. Dude,
Augustus
let's do okay,
Anthony
yeah.
Everett. You want to do this
Yeah,
one
yeah.
first?
No, 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 that's fine. Let's do yeah, so we have Augustus by Anthony Everett,
I
about the
took a
emperor
guess.
himself. Where would you put it, man?
Um, this was an A tier book for me. It was just
Yeah.
so readable. Like,
Yeah, it was
I
really
think
good.
that's like one of the things with nonfiction, at least for me. So, like, there's certain thing. Like for me, I'd probably put it here. Dude, honestly, I might have it. Dude, this is where I need your input. It'd be close for me. I could go either way.
So, dude, mine would have actually probably been, right behind Paris 1919. I think it's an A
Really?
tier book, but dude, Margaret Macmillan absolutely goes off when she writes a book. I don't think she's written too many, but I've read 2 of hers,
Yeah.
and it's just crazy. So, I thought Augustus was very good, A tier book, and you know me, I've been on an ancient history tear, so it feels kinda sacrilege for me to say this, but,
Yeah.
um,
I just feel like the readability is something for me at least, and then
that
that's
is a
why
good
I
point.
relate stuff because that's why, like, so I'm reading Iron Kingdom still, dude. It's a good book. It's a really good book, but it's 750 pages, so it's like I just don't have as much time anymore to like
Yeah,
solely devote. And then for nonfiction, for me, dude, I have to be locked in, especially on like these longer books where it's like, all right, we're covering like large spans of time. So as soon as you get out of it, it's like you kind of like you're already, at least for me, I'm already like holding it with like sand in my hands to where like in the
right.
moment it feels like I have more, but then as soon as I step away and I try and tell someone about it, it's like, all right, so just it's like I
I
feel like I
swear I
lose
read
it.
this
I
book
swear I know
and I
so.
learned something. I
Yeah.
swear.
So
No,
then
I
when
think
I
that's a
take
good point.
3 days to step away and then get back into it, like it just takes a little momentum. Whereas that's what I liked about the Augustus book is, I mean, I audibled this, so it was completely different. But dude, I did it in I think like 2 days. Like I didn't even, I was
Yeah.
never out of it, I guess. So I could see where reading it too would be easier. Like Tyler was asking me about a nonfiction book for him to read, and I didn't recommend this one. I recommended another one, but this one is like a lesser version of another one that's coming up to me, where it's like
Yeah.
so interesting, so quick. So, but I do agree. Like Paris 1919 is a way harder book to write, So that
Yeah.
is where
Well,
it's like
and
that's the other
yeah.
factor where I'm like I do agree when you say it like that. Like she made the Treaty of Versailles interesting. Like that's
Yeah.
not easy to do.
Yeah, for sure. And, to be honest, dude, I could definitely see this. I'd be fine with going back and compromising a bit and putting it above Paris 1919. Because you're
I do
right, you
feel
make a good point.
I do
Um,
like your assessment though. I think that's right though, because I mean, bro, that when you really think about what she's writing about, dude, it has
Dude, the
no
fact that it was interesting at
business.
all
Yeah,
is, like, crazy, and it was not just interesting at all, it was
it's informative.
very engaging, like, it was so good, and to
Yeah,
write about something like that, dude, I mean, this book covers 6 months, and it was, like, 700 pages, like, of
yeah.
just
I will say it was one of the
absolute
few ones I ripped
diplomatic.
through. That was the
Yeah,
good
yeah,
one. So
it was very yeah, so, okay, well, we'll keep it where it is then, Augustus by Anthony
I think
Everett
just
is an A
Augustus is
tier.
just so exciting. So that's why it's like you just want
Dude,
to throw it up there because
I
it's
mean,
like,
yeah, you're telling me, but, dude, I think we'll be able to get our fill of that
yeah, exactly.
with
That's
this
why I
next
don't feel
one,
that bad. Or well, you have one more.
okay,
The
yeah, yeah, fair
Rise of
enough.
Rome.
So the rise of Rome, man, finishing it off with ancient history here. Catherine Lomas. So this one's tough for me because I thought it was amazing and I gave it 5 stars. And
Is it better than Augustus?
oh yeah, I mean,
Oh,
I'm trying to decide whether or not it's S tier or A tier.
oh, okay.
To be honest with you, dude, it's bro, and this is a very I think niche kind of thing. I would probably put it after A World Undone, if anything. Um, But it's just not for everybody for sure. Like, and there were moments in this book where I had to hunker down. Don't get me wrong. And I'm not going to be ridiculous. Let's put it top of A tier. Okay, let's put it very top of A tier. All right, because this book is amazing, but there are moments because this is written by an archaeologist, and she is giving you just
Okay,
straight
yeah.
up facts. She refers to, okay, so this is our understanding, but 95% of that is myth. And here's what we actually know. And here's why that kind of refutes some of the stuff that we know is myth, or whatever it may be. And it's just very good. And it just goes through like early. I mean, she's going from like, you know, the nomadic tribes that were in early Italy before Rome was even a thing, as much as we know, which is really very little. But she takes that very little and explains it all, breaks it all down. But the first half of the book, especially, really throughout all of it, but especially in the first half, she's jumping. Every other chapter is about Rome, and then every other chapters are about the surrounding areas. So like Etruria and all these other places that are coming up alongside Rome, and how they eventually take over, the peninsula. But it's just really good, man. I wouldn't recommend it to most people, to be honest, especially if you haven't read ancient history. But it's a great book, man. It was wonderful, and that cover is the best cover of the year for me so far. We need to have a separate thing where we rank book covers.
Yeah.
The cover of The Rise of Rome by Catherine Lomas is freaking beautiful, dude. It's absolutely gorgeous. So yeah,
That's a
that's an A
series,
tier
isn't
book.
it, as well? Or no?
Yes, it is a series. I've got all of them. That's the first one. And there'll be at least one more on the list this year.
That's
I
huge.
I foresee. That leads us to the very last one. Again, finishing things off with ancient history here. We have Julius Caesar by Philip Freeman. I mean, I know for a fact you're putting this in S tier.
I'm putting
There's
this in
no
S
way you're
tier.
not.
I don't, for me, like, so I haven't read A World Undone, or so, but if this was just Ring of Steel and Henry V, it's going in between them for me. It's close, but I still like Henry V more. Um, but I mean, obviously, this is an S tier book. It's better than Ring of
Yeah.
Steel, though, for me.
It's an S tier book. And I think I still have to give it to Susan Wise for the breadth and depth that she managed to include both of in her book. But dude, Julius Caesar. I mean, it's hard for me. I could put it above Susan
Yeah.
Weisbauer, and be totally fine with it. But I feel like the nerd in me and also the elitist in me wants to put the 800 pager in front of Julius Caesar,
Well,
just
the
to show how
man
smart I
Julius
am.
Caesar is the top of S tier. So like that's where it's like,
Yeah,
okay,
for sure.
it's so
Yeah.
tough. We do need to do it. That's what we really need to do is tier list historical figures. That would
Yeah,
be
we
so
definitely
fun,
should.
dude.
Of books that we've read like that year. Like we should definitely do
Yeah.
that like into this year. All the figures we've read about. That would actually be fun. So yeah, I could see this, dude, and honestly, depending on the day, I could see this being the top of S tier. Because
Oh yeah.
again, Julius Caesar is the man.
Oh, he is.
Alexander Hamilton said it. We've all been saying it. Julius Caesar is the man. Um, in more ways than one. So it was a great book, and Freeman is a great author. I've read another book by him on Hannibal. It was really short, but it was also really good. But dude, if you're doing it well, because we talked about this previously when discussing some nonfiction about ancient history, but I've learned more about it. Actually, I watched Michael Kist video, and he talked about it a bit. But when people say popular history, I've come to the early decision that people who look down on popular history are just like, you know, what's the word? Snooty. I think
Yeah.
that's the word I'm looking for. Because at the end of the day, we do not know what actually happened in ancient history. Like when it comes down to it, a lot of it is just stories, and some of them were written hundreds of years after the fact. So they were not contemporaries of the time. So to say that pop history, which doesn't criticize the sources enough or lay out all the different possibilities, it's like, okay, dude, well, the book has to be 4 times as long then, and no one's gonna read it. So it's like, you know,
Yeah.
if you're gonna like, we want that to be there as well. We want the 800 pagers so that we have that resource, but we want people to be able to read regardless about these things. So I say all that to say, like, Julius Caesar is more like Popular History by Philip Freeman, but
Yeah.
dude, it is so good. And I say that because there is a narrative, there's a story he's telling, but dude, he does it so well. And I feel like he does reference things that we don't know for sure. Dude, it's such a good story, man.
Yeah. And that's the one I recommended to Tyler, man. It's like if I'm gonna recommend something to
Nice.
someone who doesn't read, I think they have the highest chance of finishing something like that. And that's why Henry V is also the best book for
Yeah.
me is because of that same factor of just readability, like the pacing. We're not going to get bogged down, and so maybe I guess that somehow qualifies more as pop history. But I mean,
Right.
dude, not everyone can sit down and just digest 7, 8, 900 pages. So I mean, the rise and fall of the Third Reich is considered a widely amazing book, but how many people have actually finished it? I mean, it's over 1,000
Right.
pages,
It's
so it's
thick.
like
Yeah.
you know, I think there is something to be said to kind of narrow in, focus on something, and you know, kill it. It's just, of course, it's going to be more broadly popular, and then, of course, when stuff's more broadly popular, it's easier to hate on it because it's like, oh, you're trying to make this more broadly popular, and it's like, but yeah, like that's to like sell books, but it also could be to like Philip Freeman in the beginning of that. I think you said that you didn't think it was in your book, maybe. But anyway, he's talking about how he's a professor and he's asking people if they know about Julius Caesar and they don't really know anything about him. And he's like, this is a
Right.
shame. How do they not know about this
Yeah.
guy? And so it's like, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it is to sell books. Obviously, he's got to make a living. But I do think there is the drive, at least I got, of, well, dude, people need to know who he is. So I'm going to make something that's readable, but that still holds like a certain level of academic integrity. We're not just doing straight up historical fiction here. This is, you know, still
Yeah,
known
and
for.
not to completely repeat what another person on YouTube has already said, but again, referring to the Michael Kist video, I didn't realize, bro, he and I are the same. He talked about how Rubicon is his, I think he said it's his favorite nonfiction book overall, but it's the one that got him back into reading. And it wasn't a book that got me into reading. I'd been reading again for a while, but it's definitely one of my favorite books of all time. And it's definitely the one that got me into ancient history specifically, and
Yeah.
that's what a lot of those books are there for. I think anyone can enjoy them, whether you're really into that kind of history or not. But you're especially going to enjoy Rubicon by Tom Holland or Julius Caesar by Philip Freeman a lot more than you're going to enjoy The Rise of Rome by Catherine Lomas, most likely.
Well, it's a
And who
gateway drug,
knows?
dude. You got to start somewhere,
Yeah,
man.
you
You
got to
can't
start
just
somewhere.
immediately do meth. You got to work your way up.
I don't think you can say that on the internet.
Oh, sorry.
Um, but yeah, you got to work your way into it, and it's got to be enjoyable. Like, I mean, you should not be reading if it's not enjoyable. So if you haven't read ancient history, you should read something like Rubicon or Julius Caesar so you can see if you enjoy it or not. And you probably will if you're a person because they're great writers and great stories. So that's all of the books we've read, fiction and nonfiction so far, ranked. Let us know what you think in the comments or send us an email, whatever you want to do, and we'd love to discuss it with you further. And yeah, anything else?
That's it, dude. I'm curious to see how this ends. Hopefully, we double these lists up by the end of the year and have just full screen of books that we can just brag about having read.
I'm looking forward to it. It'll be here before we know it, as will the end of the baseball season. The Braves are
Really know.
9 games out of the wild card, not the division, but just the wild card. They play at 10 o'clock tonight, and guess who's going to stay up to watch that and be sad when they lose? Me.
Mm.
So
Everybody pray for Jesse in the comments.
you know it. Good night, Godspeed, and we'll see you on the next one.
Live for Jesus.